Hey folks, so I've been recording a YouTube playthrough of the King's Quest series, and before I started playing King's Quest V, I got to thinking. There are what I consider two key versions of King's Quest V: the floppy version, which was the original and released first, and the CD version that came out a year or two later and is included in all the GOG and Steam collections. One of the things I've always disliked about the CD version was the lack of a text option. I suppose to make the game seem more like an interactive movie, they decided to drop all the text. The text option returned in Sierra's later games with narration like Space Quest 4, King's Quest 6. So I decided to investigate possibly reverse engineering it and seeing if it's possible to re-add the text to the game. Uh, so now, like, this is the disc version. As I look at things here or interact with things, I get boxes that they give me the text and everything at various points for things I'm interacting with. If I'm going to compare that with the CD version, I'll give it a moment for everything to load.
Have you previously played King's Quest V?
Okay.
Impatiently, Cedric waits for Graham.
So now you can hear the narration completely takes over. You cannot
Nestled among the trees
get
of
text
the forest,
boxes for
sits the
anything
wizard
that you
Crispin's
you interact
warm
with
but
in
cozy
the game.
cottage.
There are still a few cases where text boxes appear as just in the opening title screen when we had the yes no option. There are some warning messages displayed. If you choose to skip a video, things like that. Those are give you a text box and are narrated, but nearly everything else does not
really
have
want
that text option. And one of the things in ScumVM allows you in your game options to configure, say, hey, I want to do both speech and subtitles. But King's Quest V ignores that, just because the data is not there. It was removed from the game when they released the CD version. So that was one thing I wanted to explore. Can I hack King's Quest V and add that functionality in myself? So one of the things that I started searching around for was I knew it was possible to edit SCI games, and I came across these SCI scripts by Sluicebox. These are decompiled versions of the scripts that are used in the game. And they have this repo is awesome. I have scripts for almost every, if not every, Sierra game, in multiple versions and languages and formats. So it's pretty cool. But if I come in here, I can see this is the decompiled script, and so this kind of led me down the path of seeing, okay, well, maybe I can spend some time to understand this and figure out how this works and understand where the speech and the text and how those play together. So this was kind of the first thing that I took a look at, but I didn't really know where to go from there. The README gives a... I want to go to SCI Scripts. The README gives kind of like an overview of where to go from here, how to use these. It points you to SCI Studio. There it is. So it points you, or SCI Companion. It points you to SCI Companion, and then there's some newer forks of SCI Companion. I chose this one. This one is like SCI Companion hasn't really been updated since 2016. The newer fork, this one has nightly builds, it says. And the last significant release was in 2021, so it's 4 years ago as opposed to 9 years ago. So I downloaded that. I started with that to see if I could get access to the resources in the game. I'll load this up. And I wanted to compare, specifically I wanted to compare the CD version with the disk version. So this is the CD version. And then open up the disk version. So this is kind of cool. It gives you different kind of like all these views are all your sprites in the game. Your picks are your backgrounds. Scripts are the SCI scripts, the scripting engine, executables. Texts are the text resources, and this is where I wanted to spend some time to understand how the text was organized. My first thought was that I'd be able to take all the text out of the original, dump it, and as resource files and import it into here, but that was not as straightforward as I expected, and I'll get into that. And I had to take a different route with that. As you can see, there's like all the scripts are missing. So like, for example, if I go to N00, script 0, text 0, or text resource 1, you can see text resource 0 only has a few lines of text of things that that get printed out, and then text resource 1 is missing entirely, as are several others. So that was something that I had to address. So I checked out all the SCI scripts, brought them into before bringing them into SCI Companion. I brought them into a source code editor. I wanted to be able to compare side by side easily. So this is IntelliJ, and I use IntelliJ because it allowed me to do this side by side comparison pretty easily, and navigate things, and then I can add custom file types and syntax highlighting. So it just made it easier to parse and visually read. So one of the things as I was looking at these scripts and trying to understand it, the language looks obviously a little bit foreign. There's some peculiarities to how the script works. First of all, it uses prefix notation instead of infix notation. So that for operators. So that means like this. You could take here, see this not equals. This not equals then compares this with 36, and so on. So there are so the operator appears first, and then the two parameters. You can see other examples of this here, and that just makes it look a little bit awkward. You can see the and here; it's anding these two things as opposed to the and being between the two, as you would have in most other languages that you may be used to working with. So one of the things is I kind of wanted to find out was, let's take, for example, let's go to room 1. So I have on the left here, this is the disk version. On the right side here, this is the CD version. So let's go to the disk version scripts. Want to pull up room 1 here, which I believe this is outside Crispin's house. Yeah, so you can see here there's this call, print DC. This is what actually does the print of the text, and this is the text that gets printed when you interact with the well. See, this is the look well script. And that's one of the cool things about these decompiled scripts by Sluicebox is that, as a convenience, the decompiler that he used actually looked up the text and printed it out as a comment. So that makes it really easy to see what what resource is actually being referenced. So if I go here into that's the CD version we want, the DOS version. The resource is this is your module or your bundle of which script resource, which text resource you want to use, and this is the entry in the text resource. So we want to go to script resource. Excuse me, I keep saying script. Text resource 1, entry 4, and there you can see this is Graham gazes down at Crispin's well. And I wanted to compare that with how the same thing was done on the CD version. So on the CD version, if we take a look also at room 1, we want to go to look well. And look well has, instead of print DC, it has say. It has say 162. So that was another kind of peculiarity or challenge that I had to work through going through here, is that the audio resources, you have the sounds, and all of these sounds are pretty much all the MIDI-based sound effects. But there should be an audio tab that gives you all the audio sound effects. SCI 1.1 games and above display that in SCI Companion. But in this particular, King's Quest V is unique in that it is kind of somewhere between an SCI 1 and an SCI full-blown SCI 1.1 game. Those version numbers are things that the community added as they reverse engineered the games, and in reality the engine was built and just continued to evolve gradually as they released games, and where the engine was at is where they kind of released it, and then just continue to evolve beyond that as they released future games. So with King's Quest V being kind of between the two, it doesn't quite recognize and load all the resources or all the behaviors that I would need for the CD audio to play back. So for that, I had to go and pull up another resource. This was actually a pretty cool site as well, sciprogramming.com. This one gave me different tools to work with, one of which was SCI Viewer. SCI Viewer allows me to load the resource files similar to what SCI Companion does, only it seems to support King's Quest V more naturally. So I have here, for example, here's the SCI Resource Viewer for King's Quest V CD, and here's all the audio files that, or audio resources in the audio file. So, for example,
The baker, a large, sturdy fellow, waits for customers behind a pie-covered counter.
if I go back to the source code and I see this is say 162, and I go find resource 162.
Curious, Graham gazes down into Crispin's well, but sees nothing of interest.
So there you go. This is pretty much the same line. There are some minor modifications. What in the audio he calls out curiously. So that's one of the things that as I was going through this, I realized the audio narration didn't match the original text resources from the disc version, so I couldn't just pull those resources in as they were. Not only that, but new lines were added. Some lines were not used at all and just removed entirely. So I kind of had to start from scratch for that. And there's another reason where it made sense to start from scratch, which was being able to index all of these, indexing the audio resources previously indexed by these text resources, which don't exist anymore. This I wanted to index by the audio resource number. This 162. So what I started doing was I've been making a Google Sheet of all the audio resources, the text. This has been transcribed from audio, and the corresponding text resource, I've kind of left that there for reference in case I ever needed to reference it. I've also been pulling in the additional parameters. There's in some cases there's @ the @ gives it an XY coordinate position on the page. I haven't really come back to address that yet, but that may be needed in the future. Some cases there's a timer if we only want to show it for a short period of time. There's dispose. Don't fully understand what that is for yet. So things like that. I did this up until about almost until resource 500. The audio resources are pretty extensive. There aren't 10,000 resources, which would be extremely daunting task. There are only really more like maybe about 2,000. This really goes up to sequentially up to about 1238. And there's some that are skipped along the way. It's not completely contiguous. And then it does a big jump over to 3,000. That has about 90, and then it does a jump to 4,000, 5,000. And some of these are also just sound effects. They're not all narration. So like if I go to the 7,000s, I think this is like the early 7,000s are like the witch cackling.
That's salt water. Ugh.
No. Oh, here we go. Maybe somewhere around here.
I'll take care of you, Cedric.
I think that's an Easter egg. I don't think it's actually used in the game. Somewhere in here is you just have to trust me on it. Somewhere in here is the sound effects for like witch cackling and some other things, the river running, stuff like that. So those are things obviously that don't need narration, and I wouldn't want to pull over into this. The other challenge with this is coming back to SCI Companion. These text resources, let's see, this is the DOS version, disk version. I don't need that open anymore. For what I ended up doing coming over to text is I created a new resource 300. And I wanted to just copy and paste what I had in the Google Doc into this. It doesn't do that. It only lets me paste one line at a time. So that's kind of a pain. So I only really copied up to like 200-ish just so I can test and have some basic test data to use. And I expect I'll write a script or something to automate this. The resource files are pretty straightforward. There's only like a small header, and then it just has all of the entries just separated by a null byte. That's the other thing, is that these all have to be contiguous. It actually has to have an entry. Like these numbers aren't actually in the data. It's just the index into the data. So if I want to have an audio resource that jumps from let's see, let's go to 3,000. If I want, I can't really jump from 1238 to 3,000 unless I have like 1,800 empty entries. So what that tells me is that I'm gonna have to create another resource once we get over 3,000, and then do the same thing for 4,000 and so on. I'll just have logic to handle it in a new resource file. It just seems to make more sense. But for now, for the first 12,000, we're going to go in resource 300 here. And then you can see as an example, I think that was what line? It was say 162. So let's go to 162, and it has this. This is the narration with the curious. So I've been copying as I've been transcribing here. I've mostly been just going through and finding where these entries are, and that's not difficult. I just have to search for it. So it's been great that these are here. Just copy it in and then just listen to see if there are any differences, and if there are, then just make an inline edit. So it hasn't been too bad, but that's just going to take some time. Okay, so once I had all that in place, I needed to figure out where to make the changes in the code, and where all of this lives. So I saw this right in terms of like the calls to print DC and the calls to say. So I'm like, okay, let's find where those are. Say was defined in the main script file, and the way that these are kind of written, you have kind of a public. This is kind of like your exports, and then these are your indices into the various functions, or rather into this compiled module. This becomes function 29 once it's compiled, but you can reference it by its symbol before then. So the say procedure here, you can see it stops all audio up front, might adjust the volume. And then there are calls to do odd play, 3 different kinds here. One might be timed, one is just play it. In some cases it updates the cursor and manages mouse or joystick release and things like that. So at first I was going down the path of like, all right, well, we got do audio, let's call do subtitles. with the first parameter, but I ended up not doing that. Because I wanted to be able to control the audio as well from the subtitles. One of the things is that when you go into the game, like when I first tested that and I went into the game, it showed me the text box, but then when I clicked dismiss it, the audio would still be playing. So I wanted to control the audio as well as the text box. So what I ended up doing was replacing this this call to do audio, rather, wrapping this call in another one. And that's where we can go into my script here. Oops, that is the text file. Let's say we want scripts. Go to main. Go to say. And I made this do audio with text. So do audio with text. As you can see here, this accepts the resource number. I tried to be better about naming params rather than doing just param 1 and 2. Takes the module, which right now we're just going to hardcode to 300, and then we'll map it to something else as that number grows. Play the audio, and then we want to look up that resource in module 300, and then if it's not empty, print the message. And this doesn't return until the text box is dismissed. So in the event the text box is dismissed early, we want to stop the audio. Another thing here, originally I had these calls as print, not print DC, and I'll come back to the difference in a moment. There was no print DC in the CD version, so I had to use the print function instead originally. So let me okay, so another thing, when I went to go and I added these functions and I went to compile it, I ran into some other issues. Originally, you can see here, this has this include SCI KQ5 SH. Well, originally this was include SCI.sh. And this SCI SH, this basically has some standard definitions that you'll need, and provides different ones if it's an SCI 0 versus an SCI 1.1 game. This is also, even though it says SCI 0, this is technically 0 or 1.0. So King's Quest V in SCI Companion is detected as an SCI 1 game, so it was evaluating these SCI 0 if-defs. And that's a problem, because in a lot of the audio functions that are in SCI 1.1 games are in the SCI 1.1 if-def. So I'm like, okay, well, I try to play around to figure out how can I get this to identify it's an SCI 1.1 game. One thing I did was I looked through the SCI Companion source code. I'm like, all right, oops, where is the SCI 1.1 define referenced? And you can see it here in this Studio syntax parser. It inserts this based on if the version has this separate heap resources. Okay, so I'm like, let me try that. Went into the version detection and flagged this. When I tried to reload the game, I think it loaded an SCI Companion, but it would crash whenever it tried to compile. So that wasn't helping me. That wasn't doing what I wanted. So I'm like, all right, let me try to define these externally. So I went and I created this game header, and I added all of these things here. These are some other things that I was complaining about that it would need. But that also ran into a problem, because you see these sound defines. These are defined twice, and they're defined differently for SCI 1.1 game and SCI 1.0 game. So these are the SCI 1.1 defines, but if I go, let's see, let's search for them. Sound play. Here. This is for SCI 0. You can see sound play is defined as a 1, but in an SCI 1.1 game, sound play is defined as an 8. So then when it tries to go reference that, because it was getting compiled as an SCI 0, it was calling the set sound function instead of play, and it was passing a 1, which you can see is actually right. 8 is its volume, or rather, I don't know. It was doing something weird. I think it was just trying to call the set sound function, right? And set sound here, if you try to replace with set sound, then it actually gets mapped to 4. So they didn't quite line up. So that didn't work either. So I had to go a different route, and instead of using the game SH or the SCI SH, I ended up just making my own. It wasn't quite clear to me how to add my own header files into this SCI Companion IDE, so I just went to the command line, and I just created it here. I copied the SCI SH and added my own overrides. So as you can see here, this is let's go to the sound. Let's go to sound play. This is I just basically commented out SCI 0 sound defines, and then I commented out the headers for ifdef for SCI 1.1 because these are used. Just the sound, audio, and palette, things like that are all used in King's Quest V. So once I solved that, I managed to get it to compile, and let's see. We go to script compile succeeded, and then rebuild resources. I think the rebuild resources, I don't remember correctly. I think I have to do both. I do it both anyway, but I just rebuild resources to regenerate the resource.0 file. And then I can go into the game.
Have you previously played King's Quest V?
Impatiently, Cedric waits for Graham.
And there you have it. We have text output. So this is the basic text output that I wanted, but it is not quite there yet. So one of the things that in the original, you can see there has this effect on the first letter of each sentence, right, or each text box. So I wanted to try to solve that as well, and that's where I started getting into understanding the difference between print and print DC. Coming back over here, since I went back into, was it interface? Yeah, interface has print and print DC defined. So you can see here the exports for the interface script have print, printf, and print DC, but here print DC is missing. It just was not defined at all, and I guess they remove it because they're like, hey, we don't need it, or maybe their script compiler just removes it automatically as an optimization because it's not referenced. I don't know, but this kind of led me down the path of like, okay, well, I want that functionality of what print DC does. So I ended up copying this over into my main.sc, and calling that instead of print. And here, I try to be a little bit better about the parameters again, about what's going on here as I reverse engineered it. So basically what it does is it looks at the first and second letters. If the first letter is an ASCII code of A through Z, then it attempts to replace that. Well, it does replace it with a space, and then it also calculates an index into a sprite sheet. And the sprite sheet here is 945. So for that, we go to Views, and we go to 945, and this is the sprite sheet here. They have basically rows and columns are called loops and cells. So the first two loops here right? You got the first 13 characters, the second 13, and then each cell on display. So it calculates the loop and the cell, and then passes that in to print. So print is still capable of printing the icon. It just didn't do the work of doing that calculation. Coming back here to print. So in print DC, one of the other things here is that there was an extra parameter added, this 1. And that becomes important because things didn't quite work like I expected. And that's because the print function also changed. Print is different. Each of these parameters, you can see like I passed in that pound icon. So that pound icon resolves into this switch here. Pound icon is basically just 82. I guess you call it hash icon. I come from a telecom background where the hash code was a pound key. So here we go, hash icon. This hash icon actually resolves to 82. I don't know where that mapping is. I can't seem to find that, but that's where like all of these resolve into different sorts of parameters. There's time, mode, font, this is the XY position, icon, adding buttons, things like that. These are all were kind of used in both prints. And then there's differences from the CD and the disc version. They both have dispose, but they have different numbers. So this is defined somewhere. I just can't find it. And then there's also some additional custom ones that I don't understand what those are for. But anyway, so coming here to 82. You can see there's basically what it does is it checks to see if an object's being passed, so I can actually pass in the icon object and then set its parameters. If not, it will create a new icon object, it just given a resource number, and then it will add those arguments to it. And then it adds one other thing here called letter. And this flag here is kind of drives the letter behavior. So before I kind of go a little bit further there, let me save. I'm calling print DC. We're going to see what this looks like without having that letter functionality.
Have you previously played King?
Impatiently,
So
Cedric waits for
there you
Raymond.
can see it prints the icon, but there's a lot of space. It's not justified correctly. So we need to make sure that we reposition the cursor after we print this. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. The letter, so this is, I was looking at the references for this stuff, and it was kind of cool. There's the official SCI documentation for this that was written by Jeff Stevenson. He was kind of the author of the script programming language. And he has, let's see if I go to kernel documentation, there is, let's see, this doesn't have print, right? Because print is not part of the kernel. There is some object information here. This is print, and this is just showing examples of like different things you can do and how that works. But here we go. This is with all the print parameters that you can pass in, and that's what I was using when I was referencing this mapping here and comparing, just reverse engineering the functions to figure out what each of these numbers mean and how they correlate to the different parameters. But this D icon, you can see, has these sorts of properties. It has the loop, the cell, the view. Some of these are manipulated later in the function, like the ns top, left, and so on. But there's no letter. Letter is not a property that is defined there. And so that threw me for a loop for a little bit. But then as I was searching for it, I found this. Oh, it's actually referenced later on. So it's just a custom property tagged on. And then later in the print function, it uses that to change the left and bottom, or it moves the text. So what that tells me is I need to modify the print function as well. So so far I've been keeping everything confined to the main script, but I'm going to have to come back here and I'm going to have to make changes to the interface script as well. So I'll have to go down that route. This is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to continue down this. I think, you know, in the some of the other challenges that that I expect to encounter are related to other forms of text, like when somebody's speaking in the game, you have their like you see an image of their face and their mouth moving, and I'm going to show a text box during that. So that may result in additional challenges. I don't know. I won't know until I get there. And I'm just expecting to find more things that don't work quite like I expect as I go through this. But I'm hoping to get there. To me, this was a pretty big. It was pretty exciting to actually see the text box at the same time, and tells me that, hey, this is actually achievable. So I'm going to continue down this path. I hope, at least for anyone that is looking to make changes to SCI, that this helps you. And if you like this content, feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope you come back for more. Thank you very much.